Okay, hallelujah. So we're in Deuteronomy, which is really called, what's it really called? Devarim. It's really called Devarim. This is the words. Devarim, the book of the words. And as we've said last week, this is the final 30 odd days of Moses' life. All of this book is the last 30 odd days of Moses' life, and he is pouring out his heart because of what it's going to say in the first passage. So we're starting off in chapter 3, and it starts off in verse 23. But I'll just read from verse 21. So it's Deuteronomy, but it's called Devarim in Hebrew. Chapter 3. And then we'll just start reading from verse 21. Then this is Moses saying, and I commanded Joshua at that time, saying, your eyes have seen all that Jehovah, your Elohim, has done to these two kings, Sihon and Og, the two giants, the Amorites. Your God, and so will Jehovah do to all the kingdoms through which you pass. You must not fear them, for Jehovah, your Elohim, himself fights for you. He fights for you. He's a mighty man of war, isn't he? He is a man of war, and he has said the battle is mine. Stand still and see the salvation of Yah. He will fight the battle. So that's Moshe, and we've looked at this loads of times in Numbers, etc. In Numbers 27 we had the same events when Yah is saying to Moshe, you will not be entering this land. So now you've got to appoint Joshua and he will enter. So that's a rerun of this. This is all Moshe repeating what's happened over the last 40 years. And then the portion starts, and the portion is called Va'echanan. And you can hear that word in there, Chanan. It's the word for grace, isn't it? Chen is grace. You know the name, Yochanan the Baptist. It's not called John, it's called Yochanan, and his name means Yah is gracious, Chanan. And that's what this is. Moshe is saying, I pleaded for grace. When God said I couldn't enter the land, look what he says. He says in verse 23, then I pleaded with Yah at that time, saying, oh Adonai, Yehovah. I'll just make that point. It says in most translations, oh Lord, lowercase, Lord, and then big G-O-D, God, in big capitals. Well, that's because we know this, don't we, that the Bible, the translation of the Bible, is not faithful in some times, and over 7,000 times almost, the name of the Creator, Yod, Hey, Vav, Hey, has been replaced with Lord. But at least they put it all in capitals. You know, they put it all in capitals. They could have just put YHVH and then left it up to us about the pronunciation, but at least they could have made us know that it was his name again, not some title, Lord. Because this is not Adonai. This is G-O-D, is because it says Adonai first, Lord lowercase. But if they were going to stick to their normal thing, they'd have to go Lord lowercase, Lord uppercase, and that would look stupid, wouldn't it? So this is one of them things that you can see if you read this in Hebrew. You're saying, oh, Adonai Yehovah, not Lord God. Adonai Yehovah. I mean, that's just the way it is. That's why we love his name. So Adonai Yehovah, Lord Yehovah, you have been going to show your servant your greatness, your mighty hand. For what God is there in heaven or on earth who can do anything like your works and your mighty deeds? I pray, let me cross over. And God said to him, no. And so some of the sages say this is after he has said, okay, and he's laid hands on Joshua, and he's appointed Joshua, but now he's saying, Joshua's the leader, Joshua's going to take us in, but can I just get in as well and join the back of the queue? Can I just come as well? I know Joshua's the leader, but can I still go? This is what the sages say Moshe's asking for here, because when you put it all together, we've already seen this conversation when Moshe's gone, oh, don't let the people be without a shepherd, Lord. Raise up someone who will be like a shepherd. You know, and that was Joshua, wasn't it? He was pointing to Yeshua. So, let me cross over and see the good land beyond the Jordan, those pleasant mountains. And Lebanon, it says, but in Hebrew, it's the same word for white. We've seen this, haven't we, with Laban. Remember Laban? And his name means white. So he's not saying, can I go to Lebanon? He's saying, I want to go in and see that good, that pleasant mountain. And he's talking about whiteness as in the purity of it. Purity. He's talking about the mountain here. The mountain where Isaac was off. Or where Abraham was willing to offer Isaac. He wants to go to Zion. That's what he's asking for. But Yahweh was angry, it says in Hebrew, Abba, he passed over me. Really, it says. Yahweh passed over me on your account and will not listen to me. So Yah said to me, enough of this. Speak no more to me of this matter. Justin has done a good commentary in the news sheet about this, haven't you? Well, read the news sheet. Speak no more to me of this matter. Go up to the top of Pisgah and lift your eyes towards the west, the north, the south and the east. Behold it with your eyes, for you shall not cross over this Jordan. But command Yehoshua and encourage him and strengthen him, for he shall go over before this people, and he shall cause them to inherit the land which you will see. This is all pointing to Yeshua the Messiah, Yeshua HaMashiach. Joshua is a forerunner. Joshua, it says in Hebrews, did not give them rest. He didn't give them rest. It says this in Hebrews. Only Yeshua the Messiah could give us the proper rest, the real rest of God. So last verse of chapter 3. So we stayed in the valley opposite Bet Peor. That means the house of Peor, Beit Peor. This is the house of this false god, the temple, if you like, of this false god that Israel had fornicated with the other week. That's idolatrous worship practices going on, sexual immorality. This is what happened the other week, wasn't it? And a great slaughter took place. So that's chapter 4 now, and this portion goes right through to chapter 7 verse 11, and you could read every word of this. We won't have time, but the words of this are delicious. This portion is delicious. It woos you, it draws you. It's the creator of the universe speaking through Moshe and pleading with us to hear his voice and to do what he says. You know, like you were saying last night, it's a child like this. This is the father trying to draw his children. Trust and obey. It's not hard. So let's just read loads of it. Chapter 4, verse 1. Now, O Israel, now you know this word, but you keep seeing it in Deuteronomy. Shema. Shema. Shema, which means not just hear, but obey. It means understand these words. Not just in one ear and out the other, but really pay attention to these words. These are the words of life. Shema the statutes and the judgments which I teach you to observe, that you may live and go in and possess the land which Yahovah, Elohim of your fathers, is giving you. Keep on mentioning this. It's a gift. It's a gift. It's not about words. It's a free gift. It's an inheritance all on the merit of Abraham, the covenant God made with Abraham, as we will see as we read this. So, verse 2 it says, you shall not add. This is so important. You shall not add to the word which I command you, nor take away from it. And that's exactly what Yeshua is saying in Matthew, at the Sermon on the Mount. In Matthew chapter 5, when Yeshua says, do not think for 1 minute, paraphrasing, that I have come to destroy the Torah. And that's exactly what that is, taking away from or adding to is what destroying the Torah is. Because if you add to the Torah, you dilute it. Yeah. And if you take away from it, well, you take it away from it, you reduce it. And that's what the rule is. You cannot add to, you cannot take away from. And this is exactly what Yeshua was dealing with the Pharisees all the time, because they added to. And, it's called the fence around the Torah. But this is saying, don't make a fence around the Torah, don't add to it. These are quite substantial enough, these words. This is what you need. You don't need to add things. but the Pharisees invented man-made traditions, tapping out the word in Hebrew. And this is what Yeshua said, why do you break the Torah? By your takanot, by your traditions that are being added to. You are in fact breaking the Torah. Because the Torah says you can't add and you can't take away. You know, and this is what religion has done. It's took away, hasn't it? It's got this peculiar, really, doctrine that the Torah was nailed to the cross. It's stupid when you think about it, but you know, it's just madness. But this is what we've inherited. We've inherited these lies that the Torah is now done away with. It's defunct and no longer valid, and that is exactly what we've been told don't do. You know, the people I like to listen to are the Jews, you know, to study the Torah portion. I get a lot more out of the Jews teaching it, because they understand what they're on about. And this one, you know, some of them are anti-missionary, which means they are trying to win Christians to Judaism. And if you weren't strong in your faith, I wouldn't recommend listening to them, because they're very, very convincing. Because they say, look, we haven't got to make the arguments here. The Torah tells us this is the test of a false prophet. If anyone comes and alters the Torah, they're a false prophet. Reject them. In fact, stone them, get them out of here. They're a false prophet. And so the Jews say, we haven't got to make the case. Your own theologians and scholars, all of them, tell us that Paul's teaching the Torah is done away with. So he's clearly a false prophet. And all of the Christian theologians and scholars do say that. They're the false prophets, because Paul wasn't saying that, was he? I mean, you've only got to read Romans 3. I'm trying to help others here as well, but I'm trying to balance this and work out, what's this about? Because we are definitely not under the law. I mean, we are not under the law. But this is what Paul says in Romans 3. In Romans chapter 3, he's saying, therefore, in verse 28, therefore we conclude that a man is justified by faith apart from the deeds of the law. Now, that's when you could go, see, he's doing away with the Torah there. He's saying, we're not justified by the Torah, and exactly, we are not justified by keeping the Torah. Anyone who thinks we are is under the law. And Paul is saying they're cursed. They're in a very dangerous place then, because they are starting to think they're justified by the law. That's anti-Messiah. That's anti-gospel. This is what Paul's teaching. We are not justified by the works of the law. We are justified by faith. Amen. This is what he says. Then verse 31, he asks a good question, because that does make you think he's doing away with the Torah. So Paul preempts this and says, verse 31, do we then make void the Torah through faith? And he answers it, thank God, certainly not. Actually, on the contrary. How clear do you want this? Because you got that question, shall we do away with the Torah then? No, certainly not. On the contrary. We establish the Torah. How can any of these Christian theologians and Christian scholars think that Paul's saying the Torah is done away with? It's so clear in the beginning of his ministry, isn't it? He's saying we establish the Torah, but what you need to understand, you're not justified by it. Let me go to Galatians. June prayed this, that I'd go the way I didn't expect to, so I am doing. Galatians, thanks June. Galatians, though, so important. Galatians chapter 2. Galatians chapter 2. I love this. Galatians chapter 2. This is Paul relaying a conversation he had with Peter. These words we're about to read is what Paul said to Peter's face. And he's been good enough to write it down for us. But it's not just a letter he's relaying to us. This is what I had to tell Peter. I mean, come on. If Peter needs to hear this, you definitely need to hear it. If Peter could be drawn into this and seduced back into being justified by the law, we definitely need to hear it. If Peter needs to be rebuked to his face, we definitely do. And it's my biggest concern that we don't get back into being justified by the law, because that is serious error. Because you'll find out now what Paul's got to say about it.
Verse 14, look. For verse 14 is when he says, this is what I said to Peter. But verse 16 he says, know this, a man is not justified by the works of the law, but by faith in Yeshua the Messiah. Even we have believed in the Messiah Yeshua, that we might be justified by faith in the Messiah, and not by the works of the law. For by the works of the law, no flesh will be justified. But if while we seek to be justified by the Messiah, that's us, we are justified by the Messiah. So this is us. What happens if we are found to be sinners? What happens if we break the Torah? We are not. Is Messiah therefore a minister of sin? Certainly not. He hasn't done away with the Torah. But if we break it, grace abounds. This is what it says, isn't it? Where sin abounds, grace abounds more. Don't ever do away with that, please. Because this is the gospel of grace. If we sin, is the Messiah the minister of sin? Certainly not. You need to read this again yourself. You need to really immerse yourself in this teaching. Or you just be religious. Verse 18, for if I build again those things which I destroyed, I make myself a transgressor. For I, through the law, died to the law, that I might live to God. That's what I'm saying. You need to read these things yourself. This is one of my favourite verses, isn't it? And he's saying this to Peter. He's saying this to Peter, who was like so close to Yeshua, who saw him die and rise again. He spent days with him. And he's saying to Peter, Peter, I've been crucified with the Messiah. It's no longer I who live, Peter, but the Messiah lives in me. The life which I now live in the flesh, I live by faith in the Son of God, who loved me and gave himself for me, Peter.
Amen.
If I don't set aside the grace of God, for if righteousness comes through the law, the Messiah dies in vain. So if you want to start crying on and getting justified by the law, Messiah died in vain. Well, he didn't die in vain for me. Didn't die in vain for me. And I am never, ever going to allow anyone around me to start preaching justification by the ways of the law, because that is anti-Messiah and what the Messiah did for me. Is that clear? Good. Don't add to or take away. So that in order that you may keep the commandments of Yehovah, your Elohim, which I command you. I'll just carry on reading now. Your eyes have seen what Yehovah did at Baal Peor. For Yehovah, your Elohim, is destroyed from among you all men who follow Baal Peor. But you held fast to Yah, your Elohim, alive today, every one of you. Surely I have taught you statutes and judgments, just as Yehovah, my Elohim, commanded me, that you should act according to them in the land which you go to possess. That's what this is all about. This land is being defiled. It's had all kinds of nutcases in there, committing all kinds of abominations. And now Yah's saying, when you get in there, I want you to live right. Otherwise, you're going to get spewed as well. And that's what this portion is going to show us. It's such an end-time prophetic message in what Moshe is saying here 3,500 years ago. Right up to today and beyond. Look what it says. Verse 6. Therefore, be careful to observe them. Don't say they're done away with. For this is your wisdom and your understanding. Can you imagine Paul? He was a Hebrew, wasn't he? He was a Pharisee of Pharisees. There was no one better than him in the Torah. So when he's writing to the Ephesians, where do you think he's getting it from? In Ephesians chapter 1, the prayer he prays for them is this. I pray in verse 17. Ephesians 1, chapter 1, verse 17. I pray that the God of our Lord Yeshua the Messiah, the Father of glory, look what he's praying, that he may give you the spirit of what? Wisdom. And revelation in the knowledge of him. Why? So that the eyes of your understanding may be enlightened. What do you think Paul's talking about when he's using words like wisdom and understanding? He's talking about this.
He's saying this is it. I'm praying that God will show you his covenant that he has made with Israel, that you are, as Yvonne said, you're now part of. Well, I pray that your eyes may be enlightened and that you would have wisdom and understanding. Exactly what the Torah is saying here. It's his commandments, his statutes. They are our wisdom and they give us understanding. In the sight of the peoples who will hear all these statutes, and they will say, the people, the nations, when they see a community, because that's what he's writing to here. He's writing to a nation, isn't he? When people see a group of people keeping the commandments of God, they will say, whether you agree or not, who cares? God's saying it. They will say, surely this great nation is a wise and understanding people. These people that obey God, they are wise and understanding. This is God's way of evangelism. If you had a group of people that will keep his commandments, let's see what God will do then. Let's see what God will do. That's why the religion has got all kinds of these programs, face painting and all kinds of circus activities to try and draw people in. Yeah, it's a little bit if we're going to be interested. Go on some clown, face painting. But you know, this is how the church tries to entice people through stupid bingo. I was walking down the road and there's a pastor in our road, got a church down the road and had a thing on his door. Come to our Easter bingo. Easter bingo. I mean, come on, the Torah. And no one's going out going, what a wise and understanding people this is. You're not amazed at how wise and understanding that is. It's pathetic. This is wisdom and understanding when people obey. Like we played the day tonight, this nation, this city, this weekend is having the gay parade. The gay parade. The gay parade in our city. A few years ago it wasn't even allowed. It was against the law to be gay. Now we're having parades about it.
And the bishop
I know.
And if you were here now, we will get arrested.
It's what he said.
I know, and that's what I'm saying. If God's own people can't see what's right and say what's right, then how are the world going to see holiness? This is what Hebrews say, what's holiness? Without God's form of holiness, no one will see the Lord.
Steve, we're not allowed to speak about these things.
I am.
They hate speech.
Well, I don't care, come and lick me, because I don't care.
Stand up, be counted.
Amen.
Hallelujah.
Oh, I've just already touched on it, and I hope that we'll get into it again. I want to go back to Romans because it's so important. So anyway, you can get the gist of this, can't you? Verse 7, what great nation is there that has Elohim so near to me, as Yahweh Elohim is to us? For whatever reason we may call upon him. Oh, let's be this people. Let's be this close to our God now. This is what it's going to say at the end of this. We've got to seek him. We read Psalm 27 last night, didn't we? What a psalm that was. When you say to me, seek my face, O Lord, your face I will seek. And I was reading, oh God, give me this heart. Give us this heart that David had, that he just wanted to dwell in your presence all his days, to dwell in your courts and to gaze upon your beauty. Only you can give us that heart, Lord. Only you can give us that heart, and I am asking you for it. I am begging you for it, Lord, for us all. Verse 8, what great nation is there that has such statutes and righteous judgments as are in all this Torah, which I set before you this day? Because the nations were sacrificing the kids, weren't they? They were doing all kinds of abominations, and this nation comes along with the instructions of the creator of the universe on how to live. Oh, Israel was meant to be a lamb to the nations. Israel was meant to take this to the nations, and if these had got it right, we'd be living in a different world today. But they didn't get it right, did they? Verse 9, 8, 9. Oh, take heed to yourself. That's that Shema, not Shema with the here, but Shema with an R at the end. God, keep. The very same word first mentioned in Genesis, when God says to Adam that he put him in the garden, keep the garden, keep it, guard it.
guard it, keep them snakes out, all of that, guard it. And I know it's saying, you be like that, be like Adam was meant to be in the Garden of Eden, guard yourself. And until you keep yourself, otherwise you will forget. That's the way it is. We will tend to just forget the things your eyes have seen, lest they depart from your heart all the days of your life, and teach them to your children and your grandchildren. So if you've got children or grandchildren, start now. Start somewhere. Start the next time you see them. Ask God to help you to start to teach. This is like making disciples of your own children. That's what we've got to do. And we've only just started doing this the last few years, so we're trying to make up for lost time now and trying to teach our kids. Verse 10, especially concerning the day you stood before Yahovah, your Elohim in Horeb, when Yahovah said to me, gather the people to me, and I will let them hear my words, that they may learn to fear me all the days they live on the earth, and that they may teach their children. This is history lesson. Then he came here and stood at the foot of the mountain, and the mountain burns with fire. I always say this, but if you watch those real Sinai, the real Mount Sinai videos, you can see Mount Sinai, can't you? And it's got that red colour, like all of those Sinai mountains, they're all like smoky red. But not Mount Sinai. The top of Mount Sinai is burned to a crisp black. The mountain was on fire, just like the Bible says. The top of Mount Sinai was on fire. And it's the evidence is there to this day. And we've analysed the rock and we've gone, that's burnt. It's burnt. Oh, it's just true. So the mountain burned with fire. So the midst of heaven with darkness, clouds, thick darkness, and Yahovah spoke to you out of the midst of the fire. You heard the sound of the words, but saw no form. You only heard the voice. I don't know how far we're there. I'll just remind you in chapter 5. Let's just read it in chapter 5, verse 23. I'll just read it now. It's all connected. It's the same message. And we've done this in Exodus chapter 20. And I went forward in Exodus chapter 20 to this point. Alright, Nick? Shalom, wasn't it? Shabbat shalom. So I'm just reading this bit now. And if you can do it yourself, just connect it again with Exodus 20. Try and remember what we said at this stage. I'll remind you now. So we're going to chapter 5, verse 23. So it was, like an Irish fella, this is the Irish Moshe. So it was. When you heard the voice from the midst of the darkness, while the mountain was burning with fire, that you came near to me, all the heads of your tribes and your elders, and you said, surely Yahovah, our Elohim, has shown us his glory and his greatness. And we have heard his voice from the midst of the fire. We have seen this day that God speaks with man. And he still lives. What happens in the next phase? Now therefore, why should we die? What? I've read this over again and it definitely says that. They are saying, we know now that God speaks with man from the midst of the fire, and man lives. But we'll die if we carry on this thing. What? Why should we die? For this great fire will consume us if we hear the voice of Yahovah, our Elohim, anymore. We shall die. For who is there, I wonder, who is there of all flesh, who has heard the voice of the living God speaking from the midst of the fire and lived? Well, who is there? Who has done that? Moshe done it. Moshe heard God speaking from a burning bush and came and told the people, and that's what they're saying. Hey Moses, you've got previous for being able to listen to God. So you go listen to him for us. And if you go back to Exodus 20, this is when we broke it all down, and what Moses was saying was, God really wants to do a miraculous work in you. But you will not listen to him. You asked me to go and listen to him. And this is what started the whole downfall. It was only a matter of time now, because they didn't hear his voice themselves. They got it written down for them in a book. Moshe went up the mountain, and 40 days later, they broke the covenant. They broke the covenant. Broke it. There needs to be a new covenant, didn't there? That one was broke. There needs to be a new one. There's only one way that was going to come, through the Messiah. That's why he said, this is the new covenant now, in my blood. I'm going to renew this covenant in my blood. In fact, it's a better covenant now. It's better. Why is it better? Oh, it's priceless. Priceless, George. No, priceless. That's why we worship Yeshua here every week. And get back to the simplicity of what I've done was. But that's what getting said. They would not hear his voice for themselves. They appointed a man to be a mediator. Sure enough, we broke the covenant, and then we got the weaker covenant. This is what Hebrews calls it. It's just, and I am not ashamed to class this Sinai covenant as the weaker covenant, because it is. Because Hebrews says it is. So all you slaughter people, that's just the way it goes. But the Bible, a lot of these slaughter people don't like it with Hebrews. They want it out. Because it challenges them too much, because they want to be Sinai people. I don't want to be a Sinai person, because the Hebrew says, you have not come to Sinai, you have come to Zion. There's a big difference. But Zion is not Taurus. That's where the Christian religion has got it wrong, thinking it's all done away with. Zion is the Torah, but it's not on tablets of stone. That's why this is a better covenant. Now, it's written on your heart and on our minds. How is it written on our hearts? By the Holy Spirit at the new birth. How is it written on our minds? When we do what Romans 12 says, and we are transformed by the renewing of our minds. And then it will break our hearts when we break the commandments, because it's on our heart, and we'll be broken hearted over it. And believe me, I have been when I've broken the Torah, broken hearted over it, broken hearted over it. And God gives us a spirit of repentance for these reasons. It's a much better covenant than what happened at Sinai.
Better priesthood.
Better priesthood. That's it. Amen. And you can see what's going on here. So we say in verse 27, what man is there that's heard the voice of God from the fire? Verse 27, oh yeah, Moses, you go there, and you hear all that now our Elohim may say, and then come back and just tell us. This is religion. This is what religion is based on. Some fella who just does it, and I'll go and do all the stuff. And I'll come and, got to do it yourself. I always say this, don't I? I mean, I'll go and read it through, but unless you go away and do it yourself and read it yourself, then it's just religion to you. But if you will, go away, read this yourself, pray before you read it, Psalm 119, verse 18, oh, Yahovah, open my eyes to see the wonderful things in your Torah, then he will be able to speak to you face to face, one to one. He doesn't want you having a relationship through someone else. That's religion. And it was doomed to failure. They broke the covenant because of this. So you go near Moshe and come back and tell us what we'll do. Then verse 28, chapter 5, verse 28. Then Yahovah heard the voice of your words when you spoke to me. And Yahovah said to me, I've heard the voice of the words of this people which they have spoken to you. They are right. I can see their hearts. These are right. But look at the desire of God in verse 29. Oh, that they had such a heart in them. Amen. That's why you need a new heart. Amen. That's why you got to get born again. And you get that heart then. You get a heart that wants to. You get a heart that wants to obey. A heart that wants to and stops wanting to rebel and wants to submit. And it's a process. I love the way Justin puts it so gracefully every week. We're on a journey here. We've come out of Egypt and we're on a journey. It's from glory to glory. We only know in part. We are not justified by our observance of this. If you can understand how you are justified, you've got a much greater chance of understanding what this is all about.
And see God's heart in this as well.
Yeah, you too, George. He wants, oh, but this is all pointing to, it's not like God's like, oh, sorry, no, I'm going to be awful. He's like, he knows the end from the beginning. It's all pointing to the Messiah. It's great, the Messiah's going to come and give us this heart. This the new covenant is, I will give you a new heart. I mean, that's the new covenant. And that's what God's saying, oh, that they had such a heart in them. Not like, what am I going to do? Oh, he knows the answer. I'm going to give them one. I'm going to give them a new heart. I'm going to give them a new heart. Jeremiah 31, verse 31 and onwards. That's right. And Hebrews chapter 8. You know, the New Testament, Hebrews, it's just quoting Jeremiah 31 to explain this is the new covenant. This is the new covenant. And it was only possible through Yeshua. He's the only mediator. It's not good having Moses as our mediator. He's just a fellow like us. Yeshua's our mediator of the better covenant.
Well, praise God.
Amen. That's an understatement of it. Amen. Right, let's go back now because we haven't got long. But I wanted to get that bit tied in. It ties into what we've just been reading in chapter 4, didn't it? Sorry, we're going all over the place. Chapter 4.
I said no.
Oh no, I just can't see you tearing. Amen. So look back into chapter 4, I've just connected all that bit, wanted to connect that. As I say, over the next few weeks and onwards, we'll be talking about this, breaking this down, trying to understand this new covenant that has not done away with the Torah. These things have not been spoken in our hearts for a long time. Throughout the world, people are starting to come back to this. People have got different ways of expressing it. Some people are a bit legalistic. Some people are, it's enough. But we're all coming back to this, the ways of God. Because in the end, the last days, the Torah will go forth from Zion. No one's going to stop her. The Torah will be the kingdom. His kingdom will be a Torah-based kingdom. Because Yeshua wrote all this. So try to connect that. Verse 13, chapter 4, verse 13, just going back to where we left off. So we declare to you his covenant, which he commanded to you to perform. Now it says the 10 commandments, doesn't it? But it's not that, only. If we read that in Hebrew, it's 10 words. 10 words. And that's so much better because that connects us now with what in Hebrews explains it properly, Hebrews 3 and 4, that his voice is his words. That's just obvious, isn't it? But that's why I say it all the time in Hebrews. Today, if you hear his voice, his words, don't harden your heart like they did. Verse 14, so he gave 10 commandments, wrote them on 2 tablets of stone. Again, 2 Corinthians explains and calls this the ministry of death. Like it or not, that's what it says. And Yahovah commanded me at that time to teach you statutes and judgments that you may do them, basically, in the land which you cross over to possess. Verse 15, take careful heed to yourselves, for you saw no form when Yahovah spoke to you at Horeb, out of the midst of the fire, lest you act corruptly and make for yourselves a carved image in the form of any figure, the likeness of male or female, so get them statues out of here, the likeness of any animal that is on the earth, or the likeness of any winged bird, so get that live bird out of here, that flies in the air, the likeness of anything that creeps on the ground, or the likeness of any fish. So if you got one of them with stickers on the back of your car, of a fish, get it off. Because you said this to me, the origins of that. Dagon. I didn't know this. The origins of that fish on the back of Christians' cars goes all the way back to the fish god Dagon. Yeah, and not just the Pope. When the Prince thing, he got married to the weekend, the Archbishop of Canterbury turned up, he had a fish's head on his hat, a fish hat. You call it a mitre. When you look at it from the sky, it's a fish's head. He got a fish head on his hat, a fish head on his head. Because it's all connected to the Babylonian fish god worship. And that's why God's saying, don't make, when I spoke, Did you see some little birds flying around? Did you see some fish? He didn't see anything at the source, so don't be making any images.
I'll put that in the
That's
joke.
what we did.
Yeah, but what God's saying here, and it says it in the commandments, the second commandment is, look, don't worship any other God but me. That means don't be worshipping any other God but me. But then he says, and don't be making any images. That's saying, don't worship me that way. The one thing to worship false gods, it's another thing to worship true God in an unbiblical way. That's what he's saying. Don't worship me this way. The nations do that. I don't want worshiping like that. Don't insult me by making something and think I want like that. No, he's like consuming fire. There's nothing that we can make that will resemble him. I know. Yeah.
How about insulting God by the crowds using the rainbow flag as the...
I know.
That's an insult.
Well, this is the point. So let's go this now. Romans 1. Justin touched on it before, but let's do it in context now. God's just said, don't make any images. So that cool, as I said, that's thinking you're worshipping the Creator, the true God. It's exactly what Israel did, didn't he? He made a golden calf and went, this is our God who brought us out of Egypt. He thought he were worshipping the true God, but doing it in the way he'd said, don't worship me the way the nations worship their gods. How do nations worship their gods? We've said all this before, but they love Christmas and Easter, the nations. They are pagan feast days. They're not innocent, whatever days. They are pagan feast days. You know, for thousands of years, pagans have worshipped their gods on them days. I will mention that in a minute as well. You know, we're not going to get that far tonight, but we're thoroughly covered what we are going to do. So look, don't make these images. Romans chapter 1, look. Romans chapter 1, verse 18. For the wrath of God is revealed from heaven against all ungodliness and unrighteousness of men who suppress the truth. That's what they do. Suppress the truth in unrighteousness. Because what may be known of God is manifested in them, for God has shown it to them. For since the creation of the world, his invisible attributes are clearly seen, being understood by the things that are made, even his eternal power and Godhead, so that they are without excuse. The fool has said in his heart, there's no God. You've got no excuse, so if you say there's no God, you're a fool. And that's not me saying it, that's God saying it. We should get out on April Fool's Day, you know, with that spat, again, of the fool has said in his heart, there's no God. You know, and I get the excuse for it, because it just feels like everybody's young if that happens. Look, verse 21, because although they knew God, they did not glorify him as God, nor were thankful. This is how important thankfulness is, and a grateful heart. So I would say, as soon as you walk through this door every week, I will enter your gates with thanksgiving in my heart, and I will enter your courts with praise. It's such a big part of our duty to thank him. It's not a small thing, it's a big thing. In the eyes of the Creator, it's a big deal when we thank him. And it's a big deal when you don't. Look, this is what led to their problem. No, we're thankful, but became futile in their thoughts, and their foolish hearts were darkened. Professing to be wise, they became fools. These evolutionists, God's going to make the fools out of them. Look what he did. Verse 23. He changed the glory of the incorruptible God into an image made like corruptible man and birds. Exactly what God says in the Torah. Don't think of all there. Paul is not into the Torah. Paul loves the Torah. He says that in Romans 4 animals and creeping things. Therefore, because of that, because they broke the commandments of God and started to create images and idols, because of that, God also gave them up to uncleanness in the lust of their hearts to dishonour their bodies amongst themselves. They exchanged the truth of God for the lie. and worshipped and served the creature rather than the Creator, who is blessed forever. And it carries on, goes into what just mentioned, all the homosexual activity. That is clearly because people exchanged the living God for images and idols, and so he gave them over. And this weekend there's a gay pride festival in our beloved city.
And there will be gay Eastern and Poland.
I have today a client who Varianska, but her job is to care for like funeral homes, and now they want to introduce that there must be gay people in the funeral care, because if someone gay dies, they have the right to choose funeral care, which are gay people.
I mean, this is so quick how this is like a flood coming. A flood of coming of unrighteousness. But God says, when the enemy comes in like a flood, he will raise up a standard. And we need to, but he's asking us to be part of this. And we've got to become people of prayer.
Yes.
So, verse 19, let me just crack on. I'm not going to get that much further out. Verse 19, and take heed, lest you lift your eyes to heaven, and when you see the sun, the moon, and the stars, and all the host of heaven, you feel driven to worship them. And you might start doing, you might get rid of God's calendar and come up with this other one, which has got days called Saturday, which is not, the Shabbat is the day of the name of the seventh day of the week. But you'll start to replace God's calendar, where he says the first day, and the second day, and the third day, and start calling it Saturday, and Sunday, and Moon Day. You know, I'm not saying if you say I see it on Sunday, you're not worshipping the sun, but that's the calendar, and that's the culture that we've inherited. The origin of it is this: it's going away from the Creator. If he calls it the first day of the week, let's stick to this calendar, and if he calls it, the second month, call it the second month, rather than having these pagan names. This is the origin of it. This is what God said in Daniel 7. This is the enemy, This is how he's going to do it. If you want to know how it's going to work, this is how it's going to work. He will come and he will take away the appointed times, the Creator's calendar, and take that away, and he'll replace it with Sunday, Monday, Saturday, and he'll also take away the Torah. This is the enemy. This is what he's going to do. And sure enough, the Roman Catholic Church come along, and they say to this day, don't they? You want to know if we've got power? We'll show you what power we've got. There is no scriptural authority whatsoever. This is their catechism. It's in all them catechisms, whatever they are. And it says, steps is it? Steps. There's no stairways to heaven. But what I'm saying is that they say this is to prove our authority. There is no scriptural basis whatsoever for us to change the Sabbath to the Sunday. To prove that we have authority on earth, we have changed it. And that is their proof that they have power on earth. They boast about it. Well, this is, Daniel told us this, that this is what the Antichrist is going to do. He's going to take away the appointed times, he's going to take away the Torah, and that is how he will wear out the saints.
Daniel prophesied it.
Yeah.
I don't know, it was 1,000 years before.
That's
How
it.
do you know that the prophecies have come to pass? Because there it is in Daniel, and it came to pass.
Yeah. Let me just go on to verse 25 now. I want to definitely get this bit in. I love this bit. Verse 25. He's saying, anyway, verse 25. When you beget children and grandchildren, and have grown old in the land, and are corrupted, there's a prophecy coming, and make a carved image. Even though he said don't do all this, now Moses is going to reveal. Nevertheless, you are going to do it. You are going to do this. And it gets even more graphic the more we get into Deuteronomy, and he's just telling them straight, yous are going to break all this. Well, here's a bit of a heads up now. When you go in and act corruptly and make a carved image, we read about this in Kings, didn't we, last night? These kings that were making carved images to Baal, and all kinds of madness going on. The kings of Israel started to do all this, and Moshe's telling them here, this is what's going to happen. And do evil in the sight of Yahovah your Elohim to provoke him to anger. Moshe saying, I call heaven and earth to witness against you this day. Heaven and earth may pass away, the Torah won't pass away. Heaven and earth has been called as a witness against you this day, that you will soon utterly perish from the land which you cross over the Jordan to possess. You will not prolong your days in it, but will be utterly destroyed. And Yahovah will scatter you among the peoples, and you will be left few in number among the nations where Yahovah will drive you. And there you will serve gods, the work of men's hands, wood and stone, which neither see, nor hear, nor eat, nor smell. In Revelation, this is how connected it is. You know, in Revelation, which hasn't happened yet, most of it, there's an idol set up, isn't it? The beast creates an image of himself, and power is given to this idol to speak, and it will cause men to worship it. It's exactly what the commandments are. It's that relevance when God said, don't bow down, don't worship idols. Why do you think the Antichrist is going to create an idol that speaks, that people bow down to it? To break the Torah. So we can't look, this is it, verse 29. But from there, this is beautiful, but from there, where? Throughout the world where Israel has been scattered. From there, and this is us right now today, this is us today, isn't it? Coming back and going, waking up and going, oh, and remember when you first fell in love with all this again? Remember when you got blown away by the beauty of his feasts? I'm like, wow, where's this been all my life? I love it. I thank you for the feasts. From there, you will seek Yahovah your Elohim, and you will find him if you seek him with all your heart and with all your soul. Amen. I mean, that just reminds us of chapter 6, which we're probably not going to get time to go into, which is the Shema, isn't it? And so I'll finish on that, even if it just takes 2 minutes. We will go back to that. Let me get this bit in. Look what he's saying. From there you will seek Yah, and you will find him when you seek for him with all your heart and all your soul. Verse 30. When you are in tribulation, Jacob's trouble, and all these things come upon you in the latter days. This is Moshe prophesying about now, and 70 years ago when Israel started to look onto the land back and became a nation again. It's like, oh, let's never forget how great a miracle that is. I know you never forget that, George.
And the language being
And the language is restored. It's a miracle. And thank God he's given us a half of Israel, you know. Imagine if you were one of them anti-Semitic people.
Praise the Lord.
Oh, thank God that you've given us some kind of half of Israel, Father.
Yes.
Amen.
Amen. Amen. But what I want to say is this. God said here, when you're scattered, you'll seek me and you will find me.
Yes.
Yeshua didn't say that. Yeshua says the opposite. What? Well, he did. Let's have a look at it. In John 8. John 7, I mean. Don't worry, I'm not going to make out that Yeshua's breaking the Torah. But he does say the opposite. John chapter 7, at Tabernacles, in verse 32, the Pharisees heard the crowd murmuring these things concerning him, about him being the Messiah. And the Pharisees and the chief priests sent officers to arrest him. Then Yeshua said to them, I will be with you a little while longer, and I will go to him who sent me. You will seek me, and not find me.
Like Elijah.
Yeah, you will seek me, and not find me. That isn't what Moshe said, is it? And where I am going, you cannot come. The Jews said among themselves, where does he intend to go, that we shall not find him? Does he intend to go to the dispersion among the Greeks and teach the Greeks? What is this thing that he said? you will seek me and not find me. And where I am, you cannot come. What a great question. What is this thing Yeshua is saying? Well, what Yeshua is saying here is quoting from Hosea. Let's go to Hosea. Hosea chapter 5. This is what Yeshua's doing here. Moshe is saying, look, in the latter days, when you seek him, you'll find him. Yeshua is saying 2,000 years ago, we're all at that place right now. You've rejected me. So what's going to happen now is, I'm going back to the Father now. You'll seek me, but you won't find me. Hosea said this. Hosea chapter 5, it's a deep chapter, Hosea, a deep book. So I'm going to just flick through it quickly. Hosea chapter 5, verse 6. With their flocks and herds, they shall go to seek Yahovah. Oh, but they will not find him. He has withdrawn himself from them. This is what Yeshua is all about. This is what Yeshua is saying. For those with ears to hear, they would have asked that question. They'd have gone, he's quoting Hosea here. And then you might have gone to read Hosea. And if you go to read Hosea, it gets really exciting. I get really excited about it. I'm not going to read it all, but let's just go to verse 15. Chapter 5, verse 15. This is what Yeshua said. I will return. This is what Yeshua just said, hasn't it? I am going to where I came from. And that's what it says, Hosea 5, verse 15. You're not going to get excited now, George, in a minute. I will return again to my place. Till. There's a time when it's on this. I will return to my place till they acknowledge their offence. Then they will see my face. In their tribulation, they will earnestly seek me. This is exactly what Moses said. So let's go to chapter 6. Come, let's return to Yahovah. For he is torn, but he will heal us. He is stricken, but he will build us up. Bind us up. Look at this. Now here's your time now. After 2 days, he will revive us. And on the 3rd day, he will raise us up. Amen, sir. Because you know what 2 Peter says. 2 Peter says, don't be ignorant about this, brethren. You've got to know this, brethren. If you want to understand times, you've got to know this. That a day with the Lord is as 1,000 years. So when it says, after 2 days he will raise us, he will revive us. And on the 3rd day he will raise us up. He's saying, after 2,000 years, he will revive us. And this is what she was saying. I am going back to my place now. Then, in your tribulation, then you will seek me. And it will be a period of 2 days, 2,000 years. Well, that 2,000 years is nearly up.
At the end of grace, beginning.
Well, I'm just saying that period of time, if those people would have understood what Yeshua was saying, it's not just some great statement what Yeshua was making. He's given a direct prophecy from Hosea that you rejected me, right? So I'm going back to my place. But the time's going to come when you will seek me, and then you will find me. Yeah, and that's it. Then you'll cry that out. Then you'll come back. And our job in that meantime is, like Madeline said the other week, just pray. Just pray for them. Pray that their eyes will be opened. You know, we're praying. You know what I was saying last night? We've been praying for her since she came, and she sends the prayer letter, and her needs every month are thousands of pounds. I mean, thousands of pounds. And this month, for the first time, she said, all my needs this month have been met at a schedule. And I think that's because we're praying about it. What I mean, you know, not being funny, but I think our prayers are part of it. I'm not saying it's all because of us, but I'm definitely saying I've seen a prayer letter change from I need this much to I've got this already. Because God wants to bless these Orthodox and the miracles he's doing, changing ultra-orthodox believers into believers in the Messiah. This is amazing. This is the days we're in. We're right there now. After 2 days, he's bound by his word. After 2 days, after 2,000 years, he will revive us. But it was 2,000 years ago that he died and rose again and ascended. You know, so let's get excited about this. Right, so let's start finishing off. So, see what I mean? You could just read this. We haven't even done the commandments yet. I will say this, right, because I haven't got time now. I'm going to finish, okay, in one time. But let me just say a few things here. The commandments is chapter 5. Chapter 5 is the 10 words reviewed. And most of them make sense, don't they? Don't kill. You don't have to ask why. You just, everyone knows why you don't kill. But if always remember what he should have said, because he said that I haven't come to do away with this, I've come to fulfill it. And that means to make it clear and to do it perfectly. It doesn't mean fulfill once for all and do away with it. All right, done it now, so I'll throw it away. It means to do it fully. To fully do it. To do it properly. So when it says don't murder, Yeshua said exactly what that means, didn't he? If you hate your brother, you're a murderer.
Because he had to die perfect.
Yeah.
Yes.
It says don't commit adultery, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And Yeshua came to fulfill that, to make it fully clear. That meant if you look at them,
That's right.
and that's not just men looking at women, that's women looking at men,
That's right. That's right.
you've committed adultery in your heart.
That's right.
So, don't murder, don't commit adultery, don't steal. Again, all that, it's obvious why you don't do all that. But what about this Shabbat? I love this Shabbat. And what does the commandments say? We say this every week, actually, this bit. I always try and go from this bit. Deuteronomy chapter 5, verse 12. Observe, keep the Sabbath day, to keep it holy, as Yahweh your God has commanded you. 6 days you shall labour and do all your work. So if you're going to have 5-day-a-week jobs, you better get 6-day-a-week job. But the 7th day is the Sabbath. What day? The 7th day. 7th. You know, it's in the name, Shavuot, 7. You know, these people, I think you can just pick one of the days after that, I Sabbath on Tuesday. Well, that's not the 7th day. So the 7th day is the Sabbath of Yahweh your Elohim. In it you shall do your work, you, nor your son, nor your daughter, nor your male servants, nor your female servants, nor your ox, if you've got one of them, or your donkey, if you've got one of them, or your cattle. This is right here, enter on a donkey, on the foal of a donkey, because he introduced them on Sabbath or Sunday, and he had to enter on a donkey that no one had ever sat on before, because it had never done a day's work in its life. That's why the prophets all for he had to enter on the foal of a donkey, and that's why it was still living with its mum. Never done a day's work in its life, so it was exempt in that way. So, no your cattle, no your stranger who is within your states, no that your male servant and your female servant may rest, because this was the first commandment regarding the Sabbath. If you want to understand the Sabbath, you've got to go right back to Genesis, when God finished his work. This is the point, he finished his work, and then he rested, and he was refreshed, and he's given us this day for us to be refreshed, both physically and spiritually. But this is what we say every week. Remember, you're not keeping the Sabbath if you don't do this. It's not about sitting there all miserable going, keep the Sabbath. Can't move on close. That's not keeping the Sabbath, that's being a religious crank. If you want to keep the Sabbath, this is part of it. Remember. If you don't remember this, you're just playing religious games. Remember that you were a slave in the land of Egypt, and that Yahweh, your Elohim, brought you out of there by a mighty hand and by an outstretched arm. Therefore, for that reason, God commands you to keep the Sabbath. The Sabbath is to get you back into touch with the miraculous work he did at Passover, which for Israel was bringing them out of Egypt. For us, it's bringing us out of there. But I'm saying this to you, because you know we've got a relationship with the Father, you can talk to him, and ask questions. If you haven't got a relationship and you're in religion, you just go, oh yeah, I don't know what else to do. But if you've got a relationship, you can talk to him. So I talked to him, and I said, no, well, I can understand why I can't relate to anyone, and why I can't have adultery. But why can't I work? And why can't I buy and sell? Because it says elsewhere, don't buy and sell on the Sabbath. So do these things. You know, try and buy your pint of milk the day before. Get 2 pints in or something, you know. Things like that. But why, I'm saying, why, Lord? And what he's showing me, why? I'll tell you why. Because you cannot do anything at all to earn this salvation. Because you are not saved by works. That's why he wants you on the Sabbath to not work, to get the message that you're not saved by works. And why can't I buy and sell? Oh, because you can't buy and sell this. It's free. You can't trade this. You can't buy this salvation. You can't sell this salvation. It's completely free. The Sabbath is the gospel message. It's about entering his rest. It's about going and ceasing from my works to earn this salvation. I'm not going to even think for 1 minute that I can do anything at all to buy this. Because then it would be a gift. I mean, that is just what the New Testament teaches, isn't it? If it's by works, it's not a gift. But it is a gift, so it's not by works. I mean, how clear is this? I think and I believe with all my heart, the Sabbath is one of the most powerful gospel messages you can get if you understand it.
Because God kept the Sabbath himself on the seventh day.
Yeah, because he finished his works and rested from his works. Right, so look, I'm going to finish in a second. So I'm going to go through the Shema. It's the greatest commandments. Should have spent all night on it. Chapter 6, and then we're going to finish chapter 6, because I want to just show you this. Chapter 6, he says, verse 4. Now this is, he asked Yeshua, didn't he? What's the greatest commandment, Lord? And what did Yeshua say? This is the greatest commandment, and he just goes to this word, Shema, hear, O Israel. Yahovah, Elohim, Yahovah is Echad. Echad. What a message this is, Echad. Because, mentioned this last week in John 5, when because of what Yeshua did, and because of what Yeshua said, when he healed the man on the Sabbath, and he made himself equal with God. Yeah? He made himself equal with God. In John 10, when he said, just tell us plainly, you the Messiah, he said, yeah. Me and the Father, we are Echad. He's using this language, Echad. But the most majestic thing of this is, why is this the most important commandment? I mean, why is that the most important commandment? To know that Yahovah, that Elohim, is Echad? Because we're in on it. We're in on it. Because that's what Yeshua prayed in John 17. I pray that the way me and you are one, that they will be one. They will be one. That's why this is the greatest command. Because we are in on it. We are one with him. We are baptized and immersed into him to become one new man. Yeah, it's beautiful. And this is what Paul says, this word Echad. First time we see it, just so you can understand what Echad is, you see. Echad, in the beginning, God separated the darkness from the light, and he called darkness night, and he called light day. And that was the first day. Night and day, one. Echad. And then it goes further into Genesis when Adam and Eve, and it says that man will leave his father and mother and will cleave to his wife, and the two will become Echad. And this is what Paul's saying in Ephesians 5. I'm going to finish with this. In Ephesians 5, Paul says, this, what was written about Adam and Eve, is a great mystery. I mean a great mystery. Because this is speaking of the Messiah and his bride. That he's the man who will leave his father, and he will come and he will cleave to us to make us one with him through his death. Through our baptism into the Messiah, we are one with him. That's why I believe this is the greatest commandment. So that's the greatest commandment.
Amen.
You shall love Yahovah, your Elohim. Well, I'll just say this now in closing as a prayer, prophetically, that this is what Bill Bullock says. When God speaks, it's creative power in it. When God said, let there be light, there was light. And so we will hear this and seek this and spend time in this.
Yes.
We'll get it. You shall love Yahovah, your Elohim, with all your heart
Yes.
and with all your soul. Not just with all your heart. You want to have all your soul, your mind, your faculties, your emotions, and with all your strength. I was made up tonight, worshiping, sweating my head off, like it was back in the rave in the days, sweating everywhere, giving it loads. He wants us to worship him with all our strength.
Amen.
I love this bit, because this is part of it. These words which I command you today shall be in your heart. I mean, this is quoting to the new covenant here, when he would write it on our heart. And this is what you should do. If you want to do this, he's showing this is how you love him. This is how you seek him. Teach them diligently to your children. Talk of them when you sit in your house, which we do all the time. We sit in our houses and we get the Bible out. And that's what the Bible is saying. When you sit in your house, talk about it.
Yes.
When you walk by the way, talk about it. When you lie down tonight, talk about it. And when you rise up, talk about it. You shall bind them as a sign on your hand, and as shall be as frontlets between your eyes. And this is where the Jews get all them phylacteries and all the rest of it. And you shall write them on the doorpost of your house and on your gates. But all I will say about that is that this is our bodies are our houses, aren't they? These are our tents that we live in. And so this is saying, look, your mind, your ears, your eyes, everything, just focus on this. Talk about it. Talk about it all the time. Stay in this. Meditate on it day and night. Don't think you're a crank for doing it. They're cranks for not doing it. So let's finish, because we're already on this. Father, thank you for your words, even though we didn't cover much of it. Please help us all to go away and read this ourselves. And please, as we're doing it, draw us, Lord, draw us into this love relationship with you, where we transition from being religious to being passionate lovers of you, Lord. Ivarecha Yahovah, Vaishvarecha. Ya'ir Yahovah, Panavilecha, Veichlecha. Yisai Yahovah, Panavilecha, Veisemlecha Shalom. Yahovah, bless you and keep you. Yahovah, make his face shine on you and be gracious to you. Yahovah, lift up his countenance upon you and give you shalom. In the name of Yeshua the Sar Shalom. Amen. Amen. Sorry for that.